This morning I was thinking about there's a lot of hopelessness on the internet, and it can be really beneficial. I think it would greatly benefit us to strive to curate what we're intaking on the internet because it can definitely affect your mood, your outlook, and your mental health. Just like most of the entertainment and the lyrics that we're listening to very passively. This week, when I was on and I was sharing some of the 5 a.m. workout, usually I would share a portion, the warm up portion of the movement practice, um, usually here on YouTube or sometimes on Instagram or on Facebook. And quite often, I don't look at the screen. I'm likely looking at another screen with some folks that train with me on a regular basis, and I can give them feedback and correct their form. By the end of the movement practice, I may give a look at the screen or the phone that's on the stand, and perhaps, acknowledge or give a shout out to folks that are online. And there's been numerous times, several times, when I look at the screen, some of the typing, the responses, um, I notice that I feel like they're off and they're a little, not only off-putting, it's kind of disturbing. This week, somebody was typing, I can't think of the person's name, which is good, or their tag name on the internet, and they were typing, so many lines on there. It could have started out good morning or something. But I noticed towards the end they were typing in, look at the screen, damn it. And then before I clicked off, I said, as I always do, because it's something usually that bothers me about the internet, and I only get more and more clear on what it is, even though it can be beneficial. But I really thought, like, later, right, rather than being triggered by these individuals, I thought, like, wow, people are really, they're yelling, typing into the screen, yelling with their fingers typing, demanding attention from strangers on the internet. And I thought, wow, that's like wilding out. Like it's a hopelessness. It's a desperation. I would even say it's compromised mental health that people are desperate and lashing out and striving to get a rise, as a person was yelling in their words. Look at the screen, a stranger. And it's like, it occurs to me there is such a large spectrum of compromised mental health. I think even a lot of the everyday population may not consider how much our mental health has been compromised, even though we can function, we can go to work and pay our rent, um, and we may have degrees. But the amount of lashing out online that is totally callous and insensitive, it's shocking. It's shocking to me that other people are not shocked, which says that we have become so calloused and so conditioned to insensitive treatment of each other across cultures, but definitely culturally as a collective species. It's it could take your breath away. It could really take your breath away. So that obviously is not what I'm on the internet for. I do realize that if you're not loud or rambunctious or cussing at people, that it could be assumed that you are passive or that there are no consequences. I thought about this before. Predators and people that are hopeless or that look to violate others, they only act out, especially in anonymity, when they perceive that there's not a consequence. And I'm an observer of patterns. So I notice males and females, or whatever label, that people act out when, that old saying, and I don't ascribe to most sayings that they take kindness for weakness. Well, that is because there is a perceived lack of consequences. And I think consequences are natural, physical, legal and financial. And my godfather said something to me many years ago. I always talk about my godparents and my grandma Lou a lot because they gave me some really good gems of common sense that still serve me today. He said to me, it's not about your mouth. It's not your mouth, right? It's not the mouth and cutting with the words. He said, you only have power if you can inflict a consequence on your adversary. And I thought about that as a young woman, right? I'm not a man. I don't have the brawn of a man. But definitely thinking strategically, right, is so beneficial, right? Somebody's coming after you who perceives you as weak or feminine or not having muscle or not having political or economic power. People inflict when they perceive that there is no consequence. So that got me to thinking that gem from my godfather. It got me to thinking about consequences. And I remember once thinking I tried it out. Once I was going to the laundromat and there was this man that was addressing me inappropriately, and I was so, I want to say like enraged that just what came out of my mouth, I had like just a moment, and I really turned into something else or another energy, and I was like, yo, if anytime you see me, if you ever see me, don't you ever speak to me. I was like, I'll take this. I don't know, I said, I'll take this bottle and bust it upside your head. Now, most people would not perceive that coming out of my mouth. But it did as a consequence. And I told him to go sit down somewhere, which he did. I commanded him to go and sit down somewhere. And when I got back to my home, I was thinking like, wow. Um, of course, I'm not a dude or a man, but in that moment, it wasn't about fear. It was about inflicting a consequence, and I was prepared to inflict a consequence. Physical, which is why it's good to stay in good shape. Legal, right? Most people don't want their money messed with. Most people don't want to go to jail. Uh, but I thought about what would be a consequence because people don't perceive a consequence. And it's so unfortunate, but it just speaks to the state of people's mental health. Like the amount of trolling, is that fruit falling off this tree? Of trolling and harassment and the polarization and the clicks. It makes me really think about the state of people's mental health. And I don't like to stay too much in that realm because what you focus on um, deeply affects you and your creativity. So, in any event, in contrast to hopelessness, I'm an early riser and was up early in the garden, sitting with the rain. Like, I love 4 a.m. for years since a young woman. I love the early morning. And I was just thinking about an artist. She's here on YouTube, and her name is Alicia Renice. Affirmations, which I think can benefit anyone, but she's particular. She makes affirmations to Black women. And I love to curate music, not only to curate music, because I realized at a very young age how much the music was messing with my emotions, right? I'm a music lover, but I realized music can have you shopping for things you don't need to shop for. It can have you opening your little black book to call people you don't have no business calling. Like music, just like food is instructions, right? It's definitely instructions to your subconscious, to your DNA. It can get you aroused, it can get you angry, it can get you calm. So I make the effort to really make a conscientious use of music to change my mood or to catapult me out of stinking thinking. Sometimes I don't want to hear any lyrics. I just want to hear soft sound, sometimes classical, sometimes African drum beats, and sometimes just the sound of the birds. So Alicia Renice, her lyrics are so intentional and beneficial and healing. And there are several thoughts and ideas that I've had that have just been a continuation for many years. But I've often wondered why women, especially women of Afro descent, don't walk away from the music. That's something that we can do. Even though it's popular, why not walk away from the music? Why not walk away from people putting out negative ideas or who are abusive with the entertainment? Why don't we just walk away? with our dollars and with our support, why not just turn our backs, right? It's easy to say what we're fighting for or what we're fighting against, but how about what we're for? So to reclaim our energy and to, as I would like to say, reallocate our energy and our focus and attention, especially the time, this phenomenon of the internet. When I was growing up, it was TV, and I recognized, a lot of times Black folks, we can be talking our decibel levels up here. And it used to sound like so much grating noise, even as a young person. As a young adult, I was like, I don't want the TV. But I realized the TV and television, vision, programming. Now it's repurposed and it's more concentrated in the form of these screens and the internet. And we're deeply affected. Deeply. I'm crystal clear. Clarity 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. I'm crystal clear. We are deeply affected by the rhythms that we're listening to, by the words. I mean, just look at us all looking, striving to cut ourselves up to look the same, or running away from the natural processes of life, like we're feeling shameful about what we actually look like in our own hair and skin. We're scared of the wisdom years of the aging process. We are being deeply affected by what is being suggested to us through hypnotic rhythms. It is what it is. So the only ones that have a vested interest in the prescription that we will need to not just survive but to thrive, the only one with a vested interest really is you. Otherwise, it's a conflict of interest. You're no longer a great customer. You're not easy to manipulate when you consciously consume. And conscious consumption doesn't mean you're without joy. It doesn't mean you don't enjoy material things, whether that's makeup or nice things. No. But being really intentional and responsible about what you consume, because if you're thinking long term how you will be deeply affected, that's really up to us and that's on us. That's one thing that we still do have at our disposal. So there was another video I uploaded a little earlier. Um, I took it from my TikToks. I do post as Body-Culinary on TikTok. And it's one of the affirmations by the artist Alicia Renice. Such valuable mantras, right? Mantras meaning words of power, right? Mantras or chants, whether it's church music or gospel music or love songs. Mantras, usually you chant them over and over and over. I used to go to ashrams and do chanting. You can chant at different tones and they can really put you, into a state. And so she has some affirmations for uh, people and women who are highly sensitive, right? It's easy, and I've been told you're very sensitive. Though I've often thought, am I sensitive or are you numb, right? And I stand on that, right? It can be easy for us to be gaslit and then to internalize and to start gaslighting ourselves into being ashamed of being able to feel and to be sensitive. So I invite you to check out her music and her channel, Alicia Renice. Ah, it is so refreshing to seek out people who are being responsible with what they're putting out. And also, even though there are things that we have experienced that we can't control what is happening to us, who are moving beyond a victim, a language of victimhood, which is very disempowering and very ineffective. So the mantra, I'm calling it a mantra, or the affirmation that she shared, one of them that I shared today was um, sensitive, a mantra or an affirmation, as she calls it, for highly sensitive individuals. Check it out. And I don't know if I can remember it, but chanting these things over and over, and this is what I'm consciously choosing to choose the internet for, is being intentional about what I want to share and what I want to put out. Because quite often I hold a lot back from the internet because of the randomness and because there are so many people that feel so hopeless. They feel hopeless. And so you can either take that energy of hopelessness, just like if somebody that has been abused or mishandled, you can either take it and flip it to be a champion or to decide to champion for others, or to decide that that kind of abuse or that vibe or that behavior stops with me, right? I'm going to protect the next generation or just set boundaries for myself. Or you can use your experience and your ego to justify inflicting like a vampire bite, that same behavior onto young people or somebody who is vulnerable. There'll either be two things. You will either champion against off behavior, or you will use your damaged ego as a way to justify inflicting what has been done to you on. And we can see these patterns. You can see very clearly and distinctly these patterns of human behavior, irregardless of cultural or ethnic background, right? This is what human beings have the capacity to do. So let me see if I can think of this mantra. I'm calling it a mantra. It's an affirmation, but I'm using it as a mantra because to repeat it over and over, you start to realize how much you are deeply affected by what it is that you're listening to. So let's see if I can remember. You don't need better friends. No, you don't need thicker skin. You don't need thicker skin. You just need better friends. Your feelings are relevant and it should matter and it should matter to them. You are sensitive, and there's nothing wrong with this, right? You are sensitive, and there's nothing wrong with this. So let me see if I can remember the rest. It's not a flaw, it is a strength. Wow. Anyway, that's what I can remember from the affirmation. Again, it's Alicia Renee, the artist. You can find on YouTube. You can tell her that Body Culinary sent you. And the affirmation, her affirmations for Black women, and it can benefit anyone, um, is an affirmation. Is called an affirmation for highly sensitive people. And it could, I think, especially in these early hours of 4 a.m., it could potentially benefit us to think about how much we're allowing our behavior to be altered, even our consciousness to be altered by what we are taking in. And I invite us to consider it's not a light thing to become callous and unfeeling, where we're so insensitive, where it's normalized, we don't care about hurting others' feelings, right? It's one thing to have healthy boundaries, but just to have a lack of care, it's like that consciousness is seeping in to the species. And so you can see it reflected in our behavior. No care for our own body temples, no care for healthy boundaries with children. People are interacting intimately with no care for each other, but it's posed as if it's liberation. We're using each other like use up pieces of toilet paper that we toss away, and there's like a double-edged meaning. It's being marketed as freedom and liberation and love, but somehow it's not giving that. And my litmus test for that is when I look at my simple litmus test, and perhaps this can be beneficial to some of my younger flowers out there, or even some young men because I am a mom of a son. A litmus test that I have and a distinction and discernment is that no matter what the smiling face, no matter how much muscle, no matter how, thumping the music is, if what is being suggested to me or the solution is going to give me 10 more problems, or if this advice or this music or these instructions would have me to place myself or my reproductive organs or the next generation in harm's way, then it is forked tongue. It is not giving what it's supposed to have gave, as they said. It's smiling faces on the outside. The packaging has the pictures of the fruits and vegetables, but that's not what it is. And so it's very important to discern who you're taking your advice from. Strangers on the internet, preachers, pastors, religious icons, celebrities. If it would have you place yourself, your reproductive organs, or the next generation in harm's way, think twice. Because I can say if somebody gives me information like that or is offering me poison, then you are definitely not my friend. I invite you to create a great day on purpose. You're welcome to comment respectfully because I don't have the only opinion. Like, share, comment, respectfully, if you like this content, I look forward to seeing you for the 5 a.m. workout, which is weekdays, at least for the warm up. If you'd like to train um, daily at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, reach out to me. And coaching is that for whole, fresh living and unprocessed foods as a lifestyle and fitness and education. It's Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can reach out to me at Body-Culinary. And I invite you to create a great day on purpose simply because you said so. See you soon.